Yeah, oh yeah, he'll be out.
So this calls to order the Tuesday, January 14th, 2025 Capital Program Committee meeting. This is being audio video recorded. I'm going to do a roll call since we're hybrid. I gotta call everybody's name. I'm Jill Veith. We have a new member with us today. If she wants to introduce herself, she was just appointed last week.
Yes, Caroline Balzer, glad to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Christy Kickham.
And John,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
and for staff, it looks like we have Sue,
Here.
Noah Carver,
Here.
I know,
Thank you.
and Stephen Hunter from the Finance Department.
Hello.
Hi, Stephen. With that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And on that motion, Christy,
Aye.
Caroline,
Hi.
John,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
and Jill, I'm an aye. With that, we're gonna go into public comment. And the easiest thing to do, since we didn't have an agenda item for the airport, was Noah wanted to come on and update us about the South Apron noise barrier. I know that we've already voted on that and we're here really to look at the final report, but he had some additional information that we thought was important to bring to the committee to consider. Otherwise, he's got to wait a pretty long time to come back to Capitol or, so Noah, if you want to have Sue share with us that visual, Sue just emailed that to everyone, Noah, so they might not have seen it yet. And if you want to walk us through kind of what you've done, because you've already done some design work. And how would that affect how much money you're asking as well? And then maybe the public input and the mitigation levels. And that's just what's on my mind anyway, and I'm sure that everybody will have questions.
Great. Oh, thank you, Sue, and thank you, Madam Chair. So again, thank you for the opportunity during public comment. I, again, want to say thank you. This isn't a matter of, sour grapes. The Capital Committee deliberated, did not vote for this project. And, as the airport, I think we're accepting of the projects that weren't recommended for funding. But this one in particular has been a priority for us. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak on it again. Going back to February and March, when the airport promoted a berm as a noise abatement feature at the South Ramp expansion, we received a lot of negative feedback from the public. This culminated in a joint Airport Commission Select Board meeting to discuss the future of the berm and mitigation. There's extensive public comments. The outcome for that was that the airport was going to pursue a noise wall, and we've been in the active design process of that noise wall. And we've been going through items such as materials, function. One of the items we only settled recently was that it wasn't going to be appropriate from a rate of return to put solar panels on this wall. With that, we are finalizing design to put it out to bid in hopes that we would have a bid available at it happens to be about the same time frame as annual town meeting. What we have here is a draft that shows the wall. It's on the inside of the existing vegetation. It's not visible from the road. It's approximately 20 feet in height with a 3-foot angled extension that exists to reflect noise back onto the ramp. That height is chosen to meet the mounted engine height for the largest aircraft expected to service that ramp. At this time, we're still promoting a expected all-in cost for construction of $5 million. That's really not any more of a refined bid than if you saw a highway wall for that size on the mainland, the construction price would be $2.5 million. We hold double the cost. We don't want to spend that much, but the island factor is a real item. So we think we can build it for $5 million. Again, this is airport revenue. It's not revenue that necessarily competes with other town revenue. We pledge to hopefully retire that borrowing authorization notice or pay that project out entirely from retained earnings once they are certified. That would be our goal. So any opportunity to reconsider this project, we know it's important as both a select board goal and from sort of the purposes of our neighbors. Many people spoke strongly in favor, and I'll finalize, and I'll choose my words very carefully. It's not that our neighbors were pro-wall, but they said, if you are going to build this ramp extension, we want you to build that wall. Obviously, we wouldn't build a wall without the extension. That's it. I will be available during the meeting if questions come up and it's appropriate on the agenda. I'll be on with listening with the camera off. So thank you for the opportunity.
Does anybody have any questions for Noah about it? Kristen?
I got a few. Noah, thanks for coming back on this. I'm just looking at the image. I see where Monahanset sort of curves away from that sort of airport fence.
Dead man's curve.
Yeah.
Is what I call it.
And I guess, you know, I kind of thought that the berm was going to be more along the roadway, where the road runs right along the fence. It sounds like I'm going, like that's what I wanted, but this is what you have here is preferable for me, because I didn't want to be driving along that road with that berm or that barrier. So I like the location of it. But I am still slightly a skeptic of the effectiveness of it. Two things that really weigh into my decision, my original decision for not approving it, which is the effectiveness of it as a sound barrier. But also, you know, when you have a house near an airport, you have a house near the airport. You may have spent less for it because it's near the airport, but I don't like to be reactionary when things, I get it. We're trying to accommodate, and I appreciate that part of it. But you know, to what end do we do that? Anyway, that's just a few of my comments. If you don't mind, maybe talking about that.
Sure. The comment that I can directly address, because I think, you know, the issue of residential geography is just an issue, and I don't take a position on that. But there is a confirmed benefit to the wall, and I'm trying to find my notes from a previous airport commission meeting, so I'm going to cite them from memory. Please don't hold me to the exact reduction, but there's a reduction in decibel level for the homes immediately adjacent to that ramp, and it's on the order of 3 to 7, maybe it's 7 to 12 decibels from sort of an instantaneous noise event. So we did do some acoustical modeling specific to the design of the wall, as we have it shown here in this figure. So it is designed to, you know, to serve a measurable purpose.
Yeah. And now, once you built this, is this one and done? Meaning, does this set precedent for anywhere else at the airport? And then also, it doesn't seem like it, but are there any maintenance costs that do we have to repaint it, or what are we looking at as we look out future years?
I don't want to say that it's a one and done, but let me get back to that item. You know, maintenance costs, I know I can speak more to asphalt than I can to concrete, which is the likely building material. But typically concrete is a 50-year or longer structure, and it involves sort of a 20-year resealing if it were a horizontal surface, or if you had a concrete driveway. It's you know, similar to painting, applying a sealer to the product. I think, you know, the airport staff and the commission are interested in seeing how this wall performs. You know, if it were to be built at the anticipated cost, we have noise monitors that can sort of measure the performance. I don't want to say that the airport will or won't try to scope or get feedback on an extension of the wall. We've had residents who've spoken publicly at the airport commission meeting who would like to see the wall extend south towards Novadear Beach along the airport property for homes in that neighborhood. I've had residents on both sides of the issue who've said, we don't want to drive past the airport behind the ARP station and see a wall. And I've had residents who said, well, would you consider extending the wall along that length of the road? I don't know if that's a yes or a no answer. The only thing that I think, and I don't speak for the airport commission, is that they would certainly want to commit to, scoping and a public feedback, and sort of a visual aesthetic process to anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, considering where it is, the visual aesthetic softens a little bit for me, yeah, okay.
Anyone else have questions? John, Howard? Ooh, I gotta,
Well, I don't have a question, Madam Chair, but I do have a comment, and that is, I'm really glad that Mr. Carlberg has brought this back for us to take one more look at. So, thank you.
no, it's great. We didn't have this information, so when I just got it, I was like, oh yeah, the location kind of softened me up and, it's. Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Christie said, and. Yeah, so. If nobody has any questions, does anyone want to make a motion? Here's the
Well,
thing.
I do have a question. I have
Oh, sorry, Howard. I
two
didn't see.
questions. So, I think we've all traveled a lot, maybe me a lot too much. I've seen these noise barriers. It's not a new science. And Noah said he hopes it works. And I'm wondering how you connect the dots between proven installations and I hope this works.
Of course. So we have recently just installed 2 noise monitors at the airport. So we'll have a summer of data to analyze a before build case and an after build case, where we can actually, through received and accepted data, verify the modeled reductions. And I think that data would be useful to any future conversation on if walls can and should be part of any future project.
May I, Jill? I think that wasn't exactly my question, Noah. I'm wondering, people at airports know what the design of these noise barriers should be to work. Are we basing this design on precedent?
So my answer would be yes, the design software used to model the acoustic is the official FAA sanctioned, it's a combination noise and emissions software. It's used specifically in Part 150 FAA studies that are designed to mitigate and attenuate noise at airports.
Is there anything particularly unique about this location that makes the design that make us uncertain about the effectiveness of this design?
No, not to my knowledge.
So then we really don't need to rely on the software, and we don't really need to rely on the noise monitoring at this point because we don't have that information to be able to do a before and after. What we do need to rely on is whether this matches precedent that other people use at other airports. And that's my question.
I think I would partially agree. The science is known. Noise walls, noise berms, noise features, they work. I think they work best with what we're doing now, which is we have a ramp management plan in place. And through the noise monitoring, through the effectiveness of the wall, we do get to manage noise abatement, manage ramp operations, look at results, and vary our management accordingly. It is less specific to the wall, but it could help inform future work.
I see. Is Brian still on the call?
Yes.
Sue, or Sue, so can one of you guys answer, what happens with the excess revenues from the enterprise fund on an annual basis?
They get certified by the Department of Revenue as retained earnings for the enterprise, for each applicable enterprise fund.
Are they swept to the general fund?
No, they are retained earnings for that particular enterprise fund.
We've been looking at a number of different bands or whatever for various projects that are considerably large. I'm not sure how the revenues are from the airport to be sufficient to support all the things that the airport wants to do. I'm not suggesting that they can't do it. I just don't know.
Well, Brian's jumping on.
No, you can go, Sue. I'll
I'm
just,
just gonna defer to, I mean, I know Noah can speak to his revenues, and I certainly know they have very healthy retained earnings. I don't have the number in front of me, so that's why I was gonna defer to Noah on that.
I mean, to answer
was
your
going to
question.
say, right.
Okay. Well, to answer your question, Howard, I'm sure that the airport will continue kind of the funding and strategy and methodology that we have employed since I got here, which is we have typically always authorized borrowings for all of the projects at the airport for cash flow purposes, because the retained earnings the retained earnings for the airport usually have been in the $8 to $9 million range. The majority of their large scale projects are funded, correct me if I'm wrong, Noah and or Maria, but the majority of their projects are large scale projects are funded through AIP grants, of which 90% is typically covered by the FAA, and some portion up to 5% is typically covered by Mass DOT or the state, and then the remainder is funded by the town or through the airport, excuse me. And we have typically authorized all of the borrowings and used retained earnings in the subsequent year after it's been certified to pay off any bans that have been necessary, that have been taken out for cash flow purposes. So that's the way that we've been doing it, rather than having a large scale cash drain for these projects within the airport. Just because of the sheer amount of the projects, we authorize the bans for cash flow funding to make sure that they can pay for the piece. And then as with the large scale projects, especially when the grants comes in, we pay those bans down. And if their share is relatively small, we'll authorize a transfer from retained earnings in to pay down their share, so it's not permanently borrowed. And or say the ramp wall here, okay, I think Noah, Maria, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is a $5 million ask, is that correct?
Yep.
Correct.
We would ask for authorize the borrowing. We would borrow in a ban, and what we could do is we would typically probably do this over a period of 2 or 3 years, because we can roll bans, is carry that ban for a couple of years and use retained earnings in subsequent years to pay the ban down, so that we're keeping the reserves at a healthy level, so that if there's an emergency or something that happens, we have that flexibility within the retained earnings to be able to meet that emergency. So that's the way we've handled their retained earnings.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question, Howard?
You did. I've, in my experience in municipal finance in the past, and enterprise funds have been managed such that there's a balance that's left in there for a reserve after all the obligations are met on an annual basis, and then it's swept to the general fund. And this doesn't seem to be happening here, and I just make a note of that.
Yeah, no, it does not happen in Massachusetts. It does not become general fund money at the end of the fiscal year. It stays within the fund that it's obligated to and was voted when we adopted the enterprise fund.
That's helpful because I don't know Massachusetts law, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Brian, I think in this one though, the FAA is not contributing money to this project, right? Is that
Correct.
Right now.
Correct. This is a 100% airport share project. There's no federal contribution.
AIP. You had a
Yeah.
question? Hey, no, just to back up a bit, so I can understand the genesis. What was the like initial request for this? Even when it was the earth berm did you have like comments from like 3 neighbors or from like the entire Surfside neighborhood? Like, how did this come about? You know, and are you guys reacting to like a huge amount of abutters or neighbor reaction? Or have you guys now jumped in and said, we'll do this like for you as far as do our part? Like, I'm just trying to understand what's on the back, on the other side of this, as far as your guys doing this. Why exactly are we doing this? Who are we accommodating? Yeah.
Yeah, so there is an answer. I can look it up. I'd refer to that joint meeting in March or subsequent airport commission meetings. There's registered sort of filed public comment from, I can't tell you if it's 12 or 24 or 42 residents. More conversationally, my experience is, the initial pushback was from a group of direct or sort of second level airport abutters, but they were enjoined by other people from the community to support them who weren't immediate geographic neighbors.
Okay. Okay. I'm just putting it all together.
No, I know. I think it's hard, Noah, because, well, I do like the location better, like Christy said.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah.
a lot more sense. There was so much public outcry, and I went back to watch that meeting from March today. I only got about 20 minutes of it, but, the neighbors didn't just show up, they brought a lawyer. And so my concern about this, even in the beginning, was, oh gosh, we don't wanna go down that path again. So that's why I didn't know like what kind of public outreach you'd had, and maybe you have, because I know this has been on your agenda items for a number of airport commission meetings. And so that was, my concern is, we're gonna put this forward and then the public doesn't have a chance to react to it. And, there's no HDC oversight here either. So, nobody really gets another chance than right now, or maybe through the FinCom process. So that was kind of what was on my mind about it. It's not being opposed to it, but like Christy said,
Yeah.
how did it start? Who does it benefit, and who's supportive of it?
Yeah.
So that's just what. But I like this location. I'm not concerned about the cost, although although I would like to know from you or Brian, how much has been spent already on the design, because it sounds like you got design money that came out of that March meeting last year. So you've already spent some of the money.
There is an answer for that. I don't know if Maria would be able to look up
Okay.
our
I was
design task
$300,000.
order. Yeah, we would have authorized, hundreds of thousands of dollars in design. I don't want to pick an amount out of the air.
It's
But
a
we
big
have all-
structure. I think it's a big thing for people to get their arms around. And people here are used to having, again, the HDC kind of scrutinized structures.
Yeah. Trying to think here. I would say. Yeah, I don't know what else.
Hey, Joe, would it be appropriate if I made a motion to end discussion on this and move to a vote?
I'd like to make some comments before that, please.
Okay, John. Yeah, John, go ahead. And then we can make a motion to end public comment.
Yeah. So, for me, it's not so much about the design of the wall. It is about the noise factor as it currently stands does impact the neighborhood around the airport, and a lot of neighbors voiced their opinions. I'm sure what I'm about to say, I don't think you could say there was a formal agreement between the neighbors and the airport, although I'd like Noah just to confirm this. I don't think there was perhaps a formal agreement that this wall would now go up, but for sure there was a handshake agreement between the two parties that this would in fact happen. So, for me, I'm not a neighbor there, but I feel for them, and I feel for the fact that they thought they had an agreement, and Mr. Kohlberg was, did the right thing and put it forward. And I just don't think it's for us to take that away.
Okay. Christine?
No, really quickly, is there any dissent from any neighbors on the noise barrier that you're recommending?
The only dissent from neighbors is that it doesn't go far enough to the south.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, as the manager, where do you, what's this do for precedent? Where do you stop? I almost, I'm willing to agree to this. I just don't want to see a noise barrier around the entire airport and have this be precedent,
You're raising a good question tonight.
yeah, take it.
No, when you all move the fence by No Badir, when you have to move that back, are those fences that you move, are you gonna build concrete walls, or are you still gonna keep chain link fences?
Which location did you reference? Did you say nobody?
Down on No Badir, where you have the path that's like basically dropping off to go to No Badir
Yeah.
Beach, the very end of No Badir Beach.
Right, so perimeter fencing is meant and intended to remain perimeter fencing, which is our 8-foot chain link product, 3 strands of barbed wire.
No, it just occurred to me that all of a sudden if they move the fence, are they gonna change the kind of fence?
Yeah,
as
yeah,
part of their-
yeah.
Yeah, the only, Christy, if it's helpful from what I can offer is, something that's visually or, environmentally large scale like that goes through our same public permitting process, which is, expansive. It's state NEPA project, it's the Mass Endangered Species Act, it's local review. So I understand what you're asking about precedent, but it's not an FAA mandate, it's not an environmental mandate, it's a commission elected project for an area where impacts had been permitted. For this sort of project to repeat anywhere on the airport would involve that same sort of multi-year permitting effort, public review. So everyone would get more bites at the apple for any project.
Yeah, I get
So I
that.
do want to comfort you on the issue of precedent.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, that makes sense. That does.
Yeah, I get it.
I guess in some ways, without.
It's all gonna go through review. It's all gonna get reviewed again, yeah.
By me, but, so. Okay.
Well, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Noah.
Thanks, so we'll just sit in the public comment.
I'll make a motion to,
We just in public comment and then we can discuss it.
yeah, I'll make a motion to end public comment.
Secondly.
On your motion, Chris?
Aye.
Carolyn?
Aye.
John?
I,
Howard?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. We can open it back up if you guys want to. I just wanted to.
no,
I'm ready to discuss it as a committee if you are. So let me just make these overarching points. We're here to look at the final capital program committee report. I think everyone's looked at. So if we wanted to include this, I believe we still could too, but we would want to, I think, vote on the report to include this request is what I would suggest we do. So if you all want to talk about the report at all or this request, then I think now's the time to do that. John, go ahead.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
would it be possible for me to make a motion that we revote this particular application
Yes,
today?
to revote this,
This
what number
request.
is it?
This
This South
request.
Noise Barrier request.
Yes.
If you make that request, I'll second that motion.
Okay. And on your motion, John,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Caroline?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Jill's and I, great. So do we want to, you want to make a motion to vote aye on that? Or do you want?
Or what's
to-
what's his motion?
Yeah, what's your motion, John?
Um,
To
my
include it in the
motion,
report?
well, my motion was to revote. So
Yeah.
if sounds like we all agreed that, so we should now revote it, Madam Chair.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to do that?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to revote.
Well, you have to decide which side you're going, a motion to approve or to
To
disapprove.
approve,
Okay,
To approve NMA 26005.
yes.
Is there a second?
I
I'll
second that.
yeah, Howard.
Howard? And on your motion, John,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Caroline?
I'd like to abstain. since
Okay.
I'm-
Sure.
Yep.
Christie?
I'm an aye.
I'm an aye. Right? So we've added just one more thing into our report.
Okay,
But I did want to mention to you all, as I was looking at the report, Brian's probably gonna correct me and tell me I'm wrong.
thanks, Noah.
No, thank
Thank
you.
you, Noah.
Thank you for your consideration and review. I know the airport appreciates it. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. That when we started our requests, going back to the report, we were at 274.8 million. That was 60 requests. We're recommending 53 projects at 257.5 million. But if you take out the debt exclusions, I think that brings us down to 54 million. And last year we authorized, I think, 102 million and the debt exclusions were about 20 million. Does that seem right, Brian?
Madam Chair, I'd have to defer to Sue to confirm that. I haven't been super involved, but it sounds right without looking at it in depth right now.
Anyway, I'm just suggesting, Brian, that we're actually really low on our requests, even though the overall number is huge.
I think if you look at year over year and you subtract the 96 million for Ireland Home, you subtract the $80 million debt exclusion for DPW.
Yep.
If you subtract those two out of the 262 million now, you are, I believe, less in total than you were last year. If you take those two large scale items out,
Oh,
you
no,
are
we definitely are. Yeah, that's 182.7, I think.
right.
That those two combined. And then I just put in town employee housing and the bike path. I only do that because I just don't know what will happen on the ballot. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if you take out town employee housing as well, and then DPW, I think you're at, Sue can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're at about 77 million or something like right around there. If I did the numbers from the report correctly. Which are all the debt excluded. I didn't take out the Tom Nevers bike path, which would then bring you to about 70 million.
I thought we were down to 54, but anyway, the point is, compared that to last year, if you check out the debt exclusions, last year was 80 million. So we're quite a bit under that, in my view.
Yeah,
Considering the overall number is
right.
a mouthful. Anyway, that's. But I wanted to, and so with the airport, that'll be an additional 5 million. Okay, well, I open it up to you all if there's any discussion or questions about the report. And if not, we can,
I'll start.
okay, Christie?
So our island home, right? I don't know if it was in the pot of us voting. I just don't remember discussing it really or voting on it. Like, I know that we had a meeting and there was a lot of discussion about uh, just about the metrics of it all and I know there was a lot of, I'm personally not in favor of it.
Yeah.
I just, I thought we were gonna discuss it more to sort of, I wanted to hear some other committee members. I know we had a really nice discussion with Dawn, and she certainly enlightened us on odds and ends. Overall, I thought the financing of it and the approach to it was unreasonable and a little irresponsible from our standpoint now and many, many years down the road. We are saddling debt on future years every year out. And I thought there was some good discussion and arguments about, nursing homes on the Cape as an option. So I just, I don't know how I feel about that one. I thought that was a big enough one for us to have a little more discussion about it. Because I think during that meeting with Don, who's on the committee for it, I thought it was a healthy discussion, but I also thought it didn't really there was no end point at the end of that meeting. We were all just sort of had a good discussion about it, but I didn't really hear any follow-up from committee members on where we felt, how we felt about it being in the report.
Well, what did you think about our notes on it? Did you think that accurately reflected? I mean, if you look at that.
I did about it going to the ballot and being voted on at town meeting.
Well, we said the majority of the committee was not in favor of it in that note.
Yeah, yet it's in our recommendations, though.
It is.
How does that work?
Well, I think it works because for me personally,
Yeah,
I think it's a really emotional issue actually for most people.
yeah,
Who go to town meeting, this particular one. It's been here a long time. It certainly predates all of us who are on this committee. There is an emotional attachment to it. That's why you saw people didn't want it to move. There's an emotional attachment to the existing land, which I think you'll see some people vote against it because they still don't want to move it, even though they would pay to fund it there, and so because of that,
yeah.
in the long-standing, I mean, we say in there that we don't think that it is a responsible economic decision. I feel like we say that in the report. But
So you could do, it goes
do
one,
you want us to
it-
make that point strong?
well, that narrative, all right, that it is in the notes.
Yeah.
Could also, they could also be there if we didn't approve it. That doesn't change the narrative. That doesn't change that narrative if we didn't approve it.
Right?
It's still the same narrative, whether it's in our recommendations to vote for, and it's the same narrative if it's not in our recommendations to vote for it. So if it stays in, I just want to go on record as not approving it. I
Yeah.
just, so I don't know. I just, I understand, I do understand the emotions around it and the legacy of it and the tradition of it. And I am fully behind tradition, legacy, heritage, 100%. That is one of the highlights of the Rorys for me. But this one, the way I go about, my membership on this committee is somewhat stewardship for the decisions we make for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road.
Mhm.
And so I want my decision to reflect, that
Okay.
you know, so.
Well, I
but-
think
but-
there might be other people in the committee feel the same way. John, you've raised your hand.
Yeah, because I do agree with Christie. I think, you know, as I reread our report, I think, well, let me reread it. The majority of Capcom members are not a proponent of the project due to its unsustainable costs. However, Capcom appreciates the voters must have the opportunity to consider the request further, and has included this request in its recommendations. So it is a little ambiguous because we're starting off saying the majority doesn't agree with this, but we have included it in our recommendations. And I think on reflection, Christie is right to bring this up. And, you know, Madam Chair, this would be another one where someone might want to make a motion to revote it, you know, are we recommending it or are we not?
So would that be, do I hear you saying keep the narrative the same in our notes that we have in the report?
Well, no, because I think,
But then pull it out of
Yeah.
the overall number.
Yeah, I think as John says, and he's totally right, and I didn't see this, but a majority of the members are not proponents of this, but it sounds like we all voted for it. I
Mm-hmm.
could say, I don't really agree with it, but it's what the community does, so I'm gonna vote for it. You know, and that's the ambiguity that I think John's mentioned.
yeah, I think whether it's a recommendation, whether we are recommending it or not recommending it, deserves a revote for clarity's sake. Because
Right.
to be, you know, to be totally transparent, I am exactly where Christie is.
On the finance committee, you know, we have a take no action vote.
I know you do.
No, but the planning board this week, you know, it's not unusual to have a revote. We just had one in the planning board this week.
I'm okay with that. Howard, do you want to weigh in on that since? I'm sorry that Don can't be here.
Well, I'm gonna have trouble doing it, but I don't mind changing the text to say that majority, that we don't recommend it, the majority doesn't recommend it, but we do believe it should go to the public for recommendation, and I think that that's exactly what Christie is asking for.
I think this is,
Warrant article on it no matter what.
and this is my thought. It's not gonna be determined here.
No.
As a committee member, I'd just like to do my due diligence with that and be clear to the public what we've done. But this discussion is far from over. You know,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, you know, I really think, Madam Chair, that we need just a clear vote. Are we voting to recommend this? And if it does, it stays in the recommended column. And if we don't, then it comes out. You know, we can't vote to not approve it, but leave it in the numbers, you know, so. And I agree again with Christie that this is not going to be decided by us, but we should be clear.
I like the idea, I'm sorry to butt in, but that we should be clear, but I do believe we did vote on this. We went around the room and everybody said yay or nay. So if you want to vote on it again, just to be clear about it, that's great. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's a good idea to change the text and make it reflect what, you know, we're not in favor of it, but make it, the text reflect that.
I still remember.
Well, Sue, on the list, it came above the mean, didn't it?
Let me,
It ranked above the mean?
I'll check if you want to keep going.
While Sue is checking, Madam Chair, I don't recall a formal vote.
I agree. Yeah. But we
If it
didn't,
ranked above the
Yeah.
mean, then it was just in there.
okay, I think it was the mean. It was above the mean. But John's right, we never had a formal vote. I would
We
remember
don't
that.
vote on things that are above the mean. We only vote on the things to include the things that didn't make the cut.
Yeah, but we should when it's this big.
This is not just,
That
Yeah.
just
It's
to
not,
be-
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
it's not a big deal. Let's just vote on it and then keep it simple. Just,
So you
apparently,
all, somebody want
let's-
to make a motion?
I will make a motion to revote the recommendation for approval in the same kind of wording that we had before. Christie, help me out with the wording.
You want to vote to nodding. To pull it out of our recommendation.
You want to vote to reconsider
Yeah.
the inclusion of OIH in the report, right?
Yes.
yes,
Say so moved.
yeah, so moved. Thanks, John.
Right. Is there a second?
Second. Oh, I can't second my own motions.
Second,
On your motion, John,
Aye.
Howard,
aye.
Caroline.
I'm going to abstain, being new.
Thank
Aye.
you. Christie is an aye.
yeah,
That's a majority. Jill's an aye. Okay, so now the question before us, I guess, is do we want to make a motion to take it out of the report? Keeping the notes in.
yeah, 100% keep notes in. There is definitely, this is worthy of notation and in an introduction and a narrative. 100%.
Agreed, but I do think we should take it out of the numbers though.
Okay,
Madam Chair.
Well, it already is out of the numbers. We just need to change the text to reflect that we voted, well, that the outcome was that we voted against it.
yeah,
There's
no,
a
it's gonna
foot,
change our
there's a
number lot.
footnote, there is a footnote there, and we would change the footnote and delete the footnote, but take it out of the number.
It is in the numbers, though.
Yeah, it was. You mean because it fell within the mean?
Yes, so it was above the mean, but through our report, it is in all of the numbers, so it,
Yeah, it's gonna change all the numbers. A lot.
in the appendices.
But that makes a statement in itself, and I think that's what I'm hearing you all say that you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I respect that. Caroline?
For what it's worth, the way that it's written in the report, which is very succinct, it's extremely clear about how it is being discussed now. It really reflects that it was not recommended because it was not sound in terms of finances of the time. But that with the context and the meaning of it, and the importance of it going to the vote anyway, to the town meeting, it was going to be left in.
I think it's fine.
Well, but it's not now going to be left in though, is it? I mean,
Well, we would still make our comment. So I think the comment,
Yeah,
if you felt that we need to change the comment, then that's something else.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it like it was.
So then we're recommending about 90 million less for the overall numbers that will change. Yeah, that's really gonna make those.
well,
numbers
I mean,
good
that
with the
footnote
debt.
would just say totals exclude our Island Home capital request,
You
right?
might
I think,
want to change some of the wording.
I think the narrative could use a little adjustment. And I think we need to really hammer the financial impacts of it.
Mhm.
And, Sue will have a better idea of what that is. I can't remember. I know I sent out annually, I can't remember what it was, and who knows what it would be. But we do know there's gonna be deficit with it. So
Brian does
I just,
that.
I want, yeah, I mean, I think for the sake of looking out, like my decision is, I would love to have a funeral, a nursing home here. I really would. But I'm just going on the financial
Like what our job
impacts,
is as
the impacts of it.
Absolutely.
And I just think that we need to hammer that point so that people understand. And you could even go as far as sort of noting the financial history over the last 15 years this is what we spend every year, just to sort of say, this is what's crafting our decision.
We're carrying water on it every year.
Yeah.
And that isn't gonna change even if we build a new facility that we know of.
So 5 million every year. It'd be helpful to note that.
Okay, Howard, so it sounds like we need to vote to see if people want to take this out of report, and then Howard, do you want to rework the commentary and we'll?
Yeah, I'll talk
it-
to Sue. I'll talk to Sue tomorrow and reword it to,
Okay, and then
because Christie
you all-
wants more explicit
Yeah.
information
So-
about the drain.
So from a process standpoint, I know that the select board wanted me to give this report to them next Wednesday. So are you all willing to meet Thursday? Is that enough time? Even though I told you to cancel that meeting soon, because I thought we were all gonna be fine today. Which is fine. Can you all meet Thursday to revisit? I mean, Howard's
Yeah.
really quick.
Yeah.
I don't have enough time to post it. We've missed the posting.
Yeah.
Even for 4?
Okay. Yeah, even if it's later?
I can check the meeting, in order for them to post, it has to be to them, the meeting, the employees that post the meetings have it by 2 o'clock.
What about, do people not meet on Fridays?
Man, I could.
I could,
Okay.
Friday morning would be great for me.
yep.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sue?
I certainly can check.
Okay, sorry.
What time do you wanna,
10 AM?
And if we can't get the room, Madam Chair, this could be a Zoom only, couldn't it?
True.
It can be hybrid, but
Yeah.
it's more about the posting, John, I think.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying, let's not make availability of the trailer an issue. because
Yeah.
Do it.
I agree.
Yeah, that's true.
And Howard, are you okay with kind of reworking it and we'll recirculate
Yeah.
it?
Absolutely.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah, Kristen?
Yeah, just Howard, I would say, you could show we are in support and really labored over the human component of this. It just was the financial implications are just so overwhelming.
Well, Christie, I felt comfortable with the human issues, the way
Yeah.
I wrote it. So why don't you take
Okay.
a stab at writing it and sending it
Okay.
to me? Because I think there's a point where you stab people in the eye about it and subtlety and, and deference is appropriate here rather
Yeah.
than being vindictive.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I only shared what I did earlier about that emotional attachment, because I have been asking people when I go out, like how they feel about it, because finance committee starts today, actually, so. I wanted to know what people think about it, and a lot of them say, they didn't want to move it, or they don't have a problem with $100 million. I'm really surprised by said that, so.
But there's,
We have no idea what that is, but as the capital program committee, I think our duty is to that
yeah.
specific.
I just
issue.
think it just allows there to be, instead of just keep saying yes, 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 there allows there to be some people, some better discussion about it, some more thorough discussion about it. Not just in this committee, but as this moves through the process,
Well, it needs
some
to
people
be
say yes, some
scrutinized.
people say no.
But it needs to be
Provides better
scrutinized
discussion.
before town meeting anyway, because then you're just better prepared, the
Yeah.
proponents and the opponents are
It
all
adds-
better prepared,
Yeah.
As to the
That day.
education.
for sure.
And I don't think we need to overcomplicate this either, because, all of us in our personal lives confront situations where you really need to do something, but you can't afford it this
Mhm.
year or next. And that,
Good way just to say
this is
that.
no different to that.
Can't afford
It
it.
really is.
We all would love to do it, but we can't afford it.
It's
And-
true, yeah, it's true, John.
That's really simple, I like that, that's really straightforward,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, that
Love
is,
it.
yeah,
I think we
that's,
should include that
I know
right
it.
there,
John, you're absolutely right.
and I
Thank you.
think that is a personal statement without getting into, the kind of emotional connection that some people have to. our
Yeah.
page.
Yeah, we will hear that.
We will, and you're gonna hear that town floor. We don't have to make that statement.
I'm gonna predict,
We just don't want people to
yeah.
factor in the human
I'm
factor.
not gonna say it.
Sorry. Go ahead and predict.
No, because I don't want to give any ideas.
Okay, so we're not going to approve this report today. Is what I'm hearing.
But I think we need to take a vote on the Old Island, our
No,
island
we
home
do.
though.
I know. I'm just saying,
Right?
like, it sounds like we're not gonna vote on the report right now, so.
Right, we
What we
can't,
do
yeah.
need to do is somebody needs to make a motion. To take out the. Capital funding for our island home from this report.
I will make that motion as stated by Chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, on your motion, John,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Caroline,
Abstain.
Christie,
Aye.
and Jill, I'm an aye.
So
Really
can
great.
the vote is 4 or 5 and 1
It is.
abstain?
It is.
Caroline abstained.
So is it 4 or 5? 4 people voted against
Sorry,
it?
it's
Four.
4. Howard is,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
Pete couldn't be here, Don's not here, and I don't know if they'll be able to join us on Friday, if they would want to change that, but it is 4 to.
Okay, great. And
It's
Christie,
fine.
if you have some notes of things that you want to include, it would just send them to me.
I will,
because-
I
and I'll
will.
try- And I'll
go
try to
through
knit it.
Yeah, maybe just a few bullet points, I think might
That's all,
be.
just
Okay.
cryptic is fine.
Yeah. that's
If,
fine.
you- and I'll knit it in there, but I can't read your mind, so.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanna-
understood.
I want-
Good presentations on it. So maybe we should get, Sue, do you think, we could get that? See if I have that. His PowerPoint?
Oh,
Sue, does that ring a bell for you?
I'm sorry, I was trying to email Erica to see about Friday, so I missed
Oh,
what.
sorry. Doesn't Brian have a PowerPoint presentation he gave to the select board on OIH?
I believe Brian is still on if he wants.
That's
to.
really like just focused on the financial implications?
We've given more than one PowerPoint to the select board on financial stuff. I mean, we did it as part of the debt collision. We did one recently, as requested by select board member, Malcolm McNabb on, a 5-year lookout.
Okay,
We've given a couple, which one, I don't know,
would you
what
want,
exactly are you looking for?
would you mind sharing both of those or having Sue share just both of those? And then I think Christie wants to go through and just take a little bit closer look at the
Yeah.
financial implications. for
Yeah.
the-
Sure, they're both online in the select board, but I can get them for you and send them to you, Christie.
that'd be a big help.
That would be a huge help because we have to turn this around and now I have to tell the town manager we're not giving her.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. Are there any committee reports? I can tell you for the finance committee, we are meeting today at 4 and now I get to go from one meeting a week to 2 meetings a week. And John and Howard, do you have any?
Well, we've got some more kind of comments in there about the airport housing and so forth. Do we
Yeah,
want
did you want to make comments on any of that?
well, because Friday ought to be a relatively short meeting, shouldn't it? Just,
Yeah.
Yeah, if you all
Yeah.
want to talk about anything else in the report, that's fine. We're here to do
yeah.
it.
Well, I do not. I've been through it a lot of time. I do not, but
Yeah.
everybody should have a chance to.
Are you good?
I'm content. I was initially well, not initially, when I first, it said Capcom concluding notes. I just think we should retitle that.
Yeah.
Because these are more reflections.
Yeah.
Concluding notes, we are at the very beginning of this report and we're talking about concluding notes. I think this should be more, some sort of reflections going into our, you know, our report. I just think concluding notes, and especially with our island home, I do think that should be in the front. Initially, I was gonna say this should be kind of towards the backs that people, but I do think that this is, no, it's right in the front.
Yeah.
It's like
We
page
changed the
3.
way we did the report.
Yeah, so, I'm
thought that was good.
with our
We're
island,
leading with our notes.
with our island home. I think they should be right where they are.
Okay.
But I think that we should just retitle it. Something.
Christie, could it
doesn't
be
say
something,
concluding.
could it be something like Capcom, key decisions? Because it's a little bit about each of the major decisions, something like that.
You have some more, you're good with words. Do you have some words?
Well, I'm still
I like
trying
that,
to,
Tom.
I'm trying to figure out Christie's comment about we're right at the beginning when it feels like this is summing up. So I'm still trying
This is
to,
summing up the report, but I think he's,
Christie, what are you?
No, I just,
it's.
I just wanna
it's
re-
Concluding notes,
I'm-
and so is it like, are you talking about the concluding the report,
Yeah.
which it's not, and is it concluding at the end of our meetings? Yes, it is, so I
I,
think that's. the-
I gave my comments on the wording. And I'm fine with where it is. I'm okay with it all. But I do think we should just retitle Capcom.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you know, normally with a report like this kind of text would normally be called the executive summary, right? Because it's the executive summary of
yeah,
everything that comes next. So, you
Yeah.
know,
The one
maybe-
reason we don't really do it that way is because everything's kind of identified individually.
Well, summary notes. It is.
yeah,
Yeah, I wonder going forward, when we can talk about this another time, if we wanna, like, when you have such a big ask and it's gonna go on the ballot, maybe those are good. Maybe that's a whole section to say, you know, like John said, like decision points on debt exclusions. But
you could even just say Capcom notes. Just lose the concluding. That's all I'm recommending.
decision points or key points, I think that was kind of good.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, determining factor,
Mm,
something like
yeah,
that.
because it points to the Rory and trying to figure out each one. Based on a certain set of criteria, which is the main point.
Right. But these notes kind of supersede that.
May I suggest that we just keep it simple? We're spending a lot of time on this. And
Yeah.
just change the
Okay.
word to notes.
yep.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we're not billing by the hour here.
yeah, notes, I'm fine with that.
Notes.
Concluding wasn't working for me, so
Gotcha.
that's
No,
my-
I
but
think it was confusing.
otherwise, I'm fine with everything. And
Okay.
I really, I give kudos to Howard's done a tremendous amount of work, and you've really done a great job.
Thank you, Christie. That's very
Yeah.
kind.
Really,
Yeah.
very impressive, very impressive.
I think it was. really-
Excellent job, Howard.
Really gonna get streamlined now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good, good.
So we are all done then, Madam Chair. Friday is just a very targeted,
Yes,
let's
I
look at the
hope
words.
so.
and-
I
Yeah,
know that the town needs to move forward with these.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna flip the warrant next week. So with that, if anybody has anything else to say, now is your moment.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, I second that.
On your motion, John,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Caroline,
I,
Christie,
Aye.
Jill, and I. Thank you, Sue. Why don't you just email us if you think that that's okay for Friday? And I'll see you all on Friday online, or
Yeah,
we'll do the best we can.
thanks for sending
Thanks, everybody.
out I didn't know about this meeting, but